Viewer discretion is advised.
It's very rainy out here in South Africa this morning. This is Safari Live.
Ready.
Good morning to everybody that's just joined us on Safari Live. This is the Sunrise Safari and we are so happy to have you today. My name is Taylor McCurdy and on camera with me is Brian and the Thumb. Is he smart? Oh, he looks lovely today. Very nice, Brian. You always make him look so handsome. I'm always so impressed. So as you can see, and as I said in the pre-drive, it's miserable out here this morning. And so perhaps you were watching on the dam cam last night. So if you've managed to take some really interesting screenshots, post those through. And remember, this is a live safari, of course. So if you'd like to get hold of all the girls this morning, you're more than welcome to. We'd be happy to have a chat with you and answer any of your questions. Hashtag Safari Live on Twitter is one way to get hold of us, and the second way is by sending us an email. And that address is questions@wildearth.tv. Now, I hope you're excited to meet our new friend who's coming for an interview. You may remember her. So she'll pop on a little bit later. My goodness, it's a bit dark out here this morning. As you can see, I've still got all my spotlights on. And there are a couple of birds that are just starting to wake up. Let's see if we can find any of them. Should we see if we can listen? So you can hear it's very soft at the moment. Can you hear the oxpeckers? There's the turtle dove. That's a beautiful way to start the morning. Everybody's still waking up. I suspect it's going to get louder and louder. So maybe let's edge our way towards the Mulwati. Because I think if we do that, we might experience an incredible dawn chorus. I think it'll be the best spot to go to. Seems as I'm sure there's probably a few more birds around there. But I haven't decided what we're going to do yet. I'm actually going to go and check Chele Pan and around this sort of area on Eagle's Nest at the moment, because not Eagle's Nest, Weaver's Nest, because this is where the impala, I wanted to say impisi, which is hyena, have been running around, and we've actually spotted them most mornings, or first thing in the morning before they go back and rest for the day. And maybe we'll get lucky and we'll catch the clan out and about, but we'll have to wait and see. Nothing so far. There are lots of tracks. So we're trying to work out where the active den is at the moment. We suspect that it's maybe the one, I think you had it with James the other afternoon or the other morning, where you had some hyenas just off Philemon's cut line. But there are so many dens around here, we haven't quite worked out which one yet is the one to go to. We'll just keep checking until we eventually get led to one. Now, you know, we've got the big roofs on the top of our heads at the moment on the vehicles, so it makes it a little bit difficult, of course, to show you a couple of things, but we'll get there. You can see there's the covers keeping us nice and dry, or keeping the equipment nice and dry. But we're going to go across now to Madam Patterson, who is sitting in the tent, and I won't say it's cozy because I know sometimes it's not, but let's go across and say good morning to her.
It's definitely cozy. It is definitely cozier than sitting up in the front of the vehicles, and I've been waiting for ages to sit in the tent while it's raining and to watch the vehicles go out and get dripped upon. Craig, we're nice and warm in the tent, aren't we? Little bit. Not too bad. But a very good morning to all of you. My name is Jamie. This morning, Craig is on camera with me. And Taylor might have mentioned it. She might have touched upon it. But this is most definitely a Safari Live first. 3 feeds held by the various ladies of the Safari Live team. Now, that obviously brings us to who the third person is out this morning. And she's a lovely girl called Yanni. Now, some of you might remember her. She came across through to Safari Live. When was it? Jeepers. Last year? Was it last? It must have been last year. last year, October, November. Either way, she has come through and she has done one drive for Safari Live, and she is doing a second one this morning. So please, I'm sure you'll all join us in offering up an exceptionally warm welcome to Yanni. She's a lovely, lovely girl. Lots and lots of experience. She has worked in many of the really, really fancy plush lodges throughout South Africa, and at present has been working somewhere in this area, but just a little bit further to the east of us. I'm sure you'll all be very warm and welcoming. It is a terrifying thing. I remember vividly my first interview. Admittedly, it was not 3 feeds back then. It was 1 feed, and that was me. And that was because Wendy burst into flames the night before I did my interview. You want to go for an unsettling feeling when you do a job interview. The vehicle bursting into flames while you're sitting on the back it doesn't feel like a particularly good omen at the time. However, all worked out absolutely fine, and here we sit. So I'm sure you'll all be equally as welcoming as you were to Yanni the first time as you are the second time. And don't forget as well to send through questions on #SafariLive on Twitter, or email through to questions@wildearth.tv. And you can use that exact same method to send through loads of encouragement to Yanni, because that really does help. When you get that feedback from the various viewers saying you're doing great, we're loving having you, it really, really makes you feel a lot more comfortable when you're driving the vehicle, because there's so many strange things that you're not used to when you are first doing these live safaris. Right, without any further ado, I'll give you the third lady of our morning safari, and that is Yanni.
Right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Safari Live on a beautiful rainy morning. 70 degrees. And we haven't seen anything towards the Gowrie fence line to maybe find. Okay. Sorry everybody, we're just losing a little bit of signal there, but we are on our way towards Gowrie fence line to see whether we will be able to find and her 2 cubs. Well, apparently I've heard they're not that small anymore. They are a little bit bigger from last which I've been here. It's great to be back, everyone, and let's see what we can find for this morning. Well, obviously with the rain that we're having, animal activity is not always that busy, but specifically with predators, because of this rain falling, you usually find that prey animals, or such as impala, favorite antelope or so, well, their senses will usually be limited a little bit more towards this rain, and that will also cause them to move into denser areas to try and protect themselves from any hazardous situations. But this is then also perfect opportunities for predators such as lion and leopard to take that advantage and be opportunistic with whichever kill they can find. Right. I'm going to carry on driving a little bit. Let's hope we don't lose any further signal. Right, I'm going to be linking over to Taylor. She's got some hyena tracks there. Let's see if she can find something this morning. Right.
So we do have hyena tracks. I'm actually going to jump out the vehicle, and I want to show you these tracks because they are massive. They are the biggest hyena tracks I've seen. I need to find a really good clear one. Okay, here's one over here. Can you see me, Brian? Okay, wonderful. Now, it's from one of, obviously, I think it's probably Madam, the matriarch hyena that's around here. She's high up in the rankings of hyenas, and I just want to show you a comparison to my hands. I don't have the biggest hands, but they're not tiny either. Just look at this. Look at the size. And I can do it the other way. I can go that way. That is almost the length of my entire hand, which I just found absolutely outstanding. Now, you might be thinking, oh, but the sand and soil's a little bit wet, so wouldn't it, become a little bit bigger? And well, the truth is, yes, but this is sand, so it's not so much mud that they're sort of sliding around in. And I saw these tracks the other morning. Stopped about 4 times because I genuinely thought that they were female lioness tracks. I mean, they're massive. This is much bigger than a normal hyena track. If I had to find, it looks like only she was going up and down here, but if we find some other hyena tracks, normal size hyena tracks. What I'll do is I'll do a scale again, and just to show you the difference. But she's moving quite quickly. She was sort of doing a bit more of a walk, so something a little bit faster than that on her way, probably either heading back somewhere, or, well, I don't know, maybe she was looking for something to eat. Massive, massive, massive. This is the front of the track, just over here. Now you can see where her toes are. She's left her claw marks. And then, of course, the back pad, the 2 lobes. Remember, the cats have got the 3 lobes at the back, so no lions, but pretty amazing. Those hyena tracks, and I don't know if they didn't think they're too old. It's also a bit difficult to tell with all of the rain that we have had. Let me jump in here. I don't think we've had more than 10 mils of rain. I think we probably had closer to about 5 mils of rain or so. And I want to see this hyena. I want to see how big she actually is. I can't imagine it would be a male's tracks, because they're slightly smaller than the females. Those girls get so big. It's almost like the exception of the rule with mammals. It's because typically the males are bigger in other animals. Now, when you look at their feet, their front feet, like with lions and leopards, their front legs and their front feet carry all of the weight. So their front feet are much bigger, whereas their back feet tend to be slightly smaller. And Michelle, you were wondering why are their back legs actually so small. And that's actually really interesting with hyenas. And most of you have seen is that they will travel massive distances in such a short pace of time. They've got really good stamina, and half of it actually comes from the way that their backs actually slope. So it allows them to form a rocking horse motion. It's very similar to what you see with wildebeest, how they also look a little bit out of proportion with the way that their shoulders are bigger and then their back sort of gets a little bit smaller. You see it also in Blesbok, and it's just, it helps keep that running motion, so without them having to put a lot of effort into it, so it's almost energy saving. And then of course that motion then allows them to travel massive distances, far and far and far, and they can just keep that constant sort of canter, I suppose you could call it, but they're not horses, so that wouldn't really be the correct word to use, but you get what I mean. So that's really the main reason behind it. And I don't know if any of you have ever seen a brown hyena before. They look like a hyena German shepherd, if you can imagine that. They've got sort of long shaggy coats. I'll never forget the first time I saw a brown hyena run out in front of me. I genuinely thought one of the owner's dogs had perhaps gotten out and gone for a little run around on the reserve. Oh, elephants have left us a present on the road. Oh my gosh, we'll have to move that. Let me stop here. So that was quite funny, and their feet are much smaller than a spotted hyena's tracks. They're much smaller, but their feet in comparison to their front feet, like with a normal hyena, a spotted hyena, the ones we see all the time, their feet are not that much different. They see the difference between the front and the back, but the brown hyena track is almost half the size, if not even a little bit smaller than the front track. It's really incredible, and you almost think, you look at those tracks and you go, they look like they're from 2 different animals because the size difference is so incredible. Let me move this branch. I think this is from the other morning. I think it's actually from the whoops. Whoa, that was you must see my slip mark over there. That was
Oh dear, well it seems as though Taylor's taken over my spot of falling over when trying to pull branches out of the road. Well, obviously Taylor disappeared off your screen. Sorry about that, everybody. Bringing you a live safari, particularly in this sort of weather that we sometimes lose our signal. Luckily for you, our signal in the tent here is not going anywhere. Poor old Taylor. I'm sorry, I had to have a good chuckle at that. If only because I feel as though it is something that I understand completely how she feels, having done that many times in the past. So I was thinking about a theme for this morning in the tent. Obviously, I thought about doing the whole fact that we'd have only the ladies on safari this morning, and then I thought, well, we've kind of covered that topic in great depth, and trying to cover sort of the different female animals and their role in the societies is a bit of a tricky one. Hyenas, of course, are the very obvious one to go with, just because the females are so much larger. And there you go. Chris, that's an answer to your question, which is larger, the female or the male spotted hyena. In a complete exception to most of the rules out here, the spotted hyena females are larger than the males. They have very high levels of androgen hormones, so male hormones, including obviously testosterone within that, and they are dominant. So in a hyena clan, and this is for our new viewers because I think our regular viewers have really grasped as much as we have, which is as much as we can, grasp the sort of the dynamics of a hyena clan structure. So you get the females that have a strict rank of their own, and below them are all of the adult males. So when a cub is born to a high-ranking female, it inherits her status. But if it is a male, that status only really stays with them for the initial period of their sort of growing up. Once they reach adulthood, it's fend for themselves. They can sort of inherit her status to the point that they might be higher ranking than other males. And there's also, of course, the fact that there's almost a habit of it. It's almost a learned behavior. So if you are a hyena cub, which is an odd thing to say, but let's say a hyena cub is raised thinking that it's dominant. It's behaving in a dominant manner because mom has taught it to behave dominantly. Then by the time it becomes a male, naturally it's going to be submissive to the females because they are just, otherwise it's going to get beaten up. But after that, it's learned that dominant behavior, and you'll see it reflected in its dynamics with the other males of the clan. And what it seems to be, there seems to be a correlation. Bear in mind that hyenas are complex creatures. Lots of studies have been done over decades about them, but we still don't know everything there is to know. But it seems as though a higher ranking male is more likely to stay within the hyena clan for just a little bit, just because his chances of actually being able to mate with one of the females are a little bit higher. And clan males actually play quite an important role, particularly when it comes to reinforcing the territorial boundaries of the clan. Of course, our hyena clan have been giving us uphill over the last month or so. They've been ducking and diving around. Now, there was something I was looking at a moment ago, and I'm sorry, you're going to have to bear with me 1 second, because I have to try and find it again. I got so distracted by the by Taylor's slip that I lost the page that I was looking at. Where's it gone? No. I was looking up the strongest animal bites. And obviously, the hyena enters into that particular thing. And I thought we could do, instead of doing a lady-themed drive, we could do a sort of a trivia-themed drive, where I will try and catch the other two out, not catch them out, but tell them something they don't know, and hopefully tell you something that you don't know, and perhaps learn something myself as well. So I was busy looking up the PSI, so that's the bite force pressure, pounds per square inch, of the various animals. And interestingly enough, it seems as though the polar bear tops the hyena, the spotted hyena, in terms of the bite force that they are able to produce. And let me just double check the figures again. No, where have they gone? I'll tell you something though, you really don't want to be bitten by a snapping turtle. That sounds utterly terrifying. So this particular source reckons that a hyena's PSI is around 1,100 pounds per square inch. That is seriously impressive. A human beings would probably sit at around 300 or so. So we've actually got a relatively strong bite, but a spotted hyena, 1,100, a polar bear, 1,235, according to this source, pounds per square inch. I suppose it makes sense because of the size of the animal. And what you actually need to try and sit and work out, and what I'm going to try and look at a bit later, is the bite force quotient, which essentially tries to put it relative to the animal's body weight. There we go. Bill, you want to know what the largest prey is that hyena can take down? I've heard stories of them hunting giraffe. So they are seriously powerful animals. That would be in a situation where you've got a large clan working together. You probably wouldn't see something like that happening regularly in an area like the Sabi Sand. And that's because we've got so many lions. The hyenas actually don't need to bother to take that risk to hunt down something like a giraffe. There's plenty of food for them to scavenge. But if we were to see now, let's say the lions were to move on to a different area, there might not be as much food around, then you could potentially see the hyena clan coming together and catching things like giraffe. And then it's, again, running them down. Similar in a way to wild dogs. Spotted hyenas don't have a particularly subtle body shape. They cannot crouch. They cannot stalk. They just go. They just run, and their incredible sloping back gives them that stamina. So they can run at top speeds of around 60 miles per hour. Nobody believed me on that, but apparently that is... Wait, did I get that right now? Yes, I did. I see. We did our review session, and both James and Brett said, that's a very fast hyena. There's no way they can run that fast. But apparently they can. Now I must just double check. Did I get that figure right now? Or did I mean 40 miles? I'm sorry, I meant 40 miles per hour. 60 sounds ridiculous. That's cheetah speeds. No, it was 40 miles per hour. So they can run at a top speed of about 40 miles per hour. My kilometers and miles are shocking. But it was definitely particularly fast. Now, Bethany, you want to know how many cubs a spotted hyena will have in a litter? 2, really, maximum. What you'll often find, there's a lot of stories about siblicide within hyena cubs. There's actually a lot of debate about that, believe it or not. So the idea is when hyena cubs are born, they immediately start to fight for dominance if it is 2 hyena cubs of the same sex, and particularly if it's 2 females, because then they start to fight immediately. And whilst I have no doubt in my mind that they do start to fight for dominance instantly, there are 1 or 2 ecologists that actually argue that the number of deaths caused by siblicide is actually quite a lot smaller than we realize, and that plenty of it could actually have been caused by, what do they call it? Anticide, which sounds ridiculous, but particularly where you've got lower ranking cubs, and if they are slightly older than the cubs of a higher ranking female and they get a bit bolshy, there is a chance that the higher ranking cub's mother will come in and potentially kill those cubs. So you're looking at usually 2, sometimes 1. Regularly we see 1 little hyena cub come tottering out of the den. My theory, when last did we see Pretty? My theory is that she's the one scoping out the dens. I don't know why I say that, apart from the fact that she's due to have cubs next, as is Scarback, I would think, as far as we know, unless she had cubs in the Manuletti, which admittedly we have 8 months of not knowing anything. But what I'll try and do a little bit later when it stopped dripping, which hopefully it will do soon, is I'll try and draw a diagram for you of my understanding of the hyena clans, and then those of you who've been watching as well and get an idea of the different members of the hyena clan, you can join in and tell me if I've forgotten anyone. But that's what I think we'll do for today as well, is try and flesh out a little bit more about the hyena clan. It might help for when we find the den. I say, hopefully. But I'm not sure that we're going to find the den. But I'm hoping we're going to find the den. They are definitely here. I heard them whooping all of last night. One of them came by to visit Anwar and Alex the other night at Inger's. So they are around. They are most definitely around. Right. Let us see if Taylor has recovered her dignity and how her search for the hyenas is going.
I did slip, and then I almost slipped again. It was very, very, very much clay soil right there. So we've actually, Yanni just gave a really great update on the Game Drive radio. She said that she's picked up on female leopard tracks with cub tracks, which, how exciting is that? And I suspect that it's most likely Karula as well. At Twin Duns, it's her favourite spot to come. Now, last Sunday, I had Karula, and Jamie, we found her just off the Mulwati. Then she came walking. She was sitting in Tremama on a tree, and then she came walking towards Cheetah Cutline, and I lost her in this big thick block between sort of Mamba and Leadwood Road and all of these roads around here. So Yanni says the tracks are going northeast, so I wonder if she isn't coming this way. So we're just going to check around here very quickly and see if we have anything pop around. It would be lovely if Yanni could see some of our beautiful leopards. I don't know if she's met the Queen before, but well, to be graced by her presence is fantastic. And well, no luck on the hyenas yet either. I have been searching, but I reckon on a day like today, it's a little bit miserable. It's actually not too bad, so I don't know if I would be too frightened by this rain. Just double check in this nice sandy spot if there's any tracks here. I don't know if I would, if I'd be hiding away in a hole or what I would be doing. Now, since as though it's hyena morning, we've been chatting a lot about them. Erica, you've asked, do male hyenas leave the clan at any point. Sort of yes and no. It's not uncommon to see males going off on their own and sort of traveling around. You often see that. You'll come around the corner, you'll see one hyena by itself. But males do also live with the clans too, but they're very low ranking. They unfortunately don't have too much say in what goes on, so they either like what they've been told to do and they stick around, or they can go off and do their own thing too. But typically they will hang around with the clans too. Right, now it would be nice if we could find one, seeing as though we're chatting about them so much. So I am checking some of the favorite spots where I have seen them darting across before. We'll go and I wonder if we should go and check that den site on Cheetah Cutline. Maybe we should go and do that. We'll just carry on searching here, then we'll jump back on. We have to do a big loop though, because I'll have to go all the way onto Gowrie Main and then come back along Cheetah Cutline, because the one access from Gowrie Main is not the greatest. I feel like you come up into that termite mound very quickly and you can maybe startle the animals, because it could even be a warthog or something living in there. So we'll go the long way around, where we're lucky we've got this big camera that can zoom in so far, which is really nice, so that we can of course not disturb the animals. Now, Roger, I'm not familiar with the Djuma clan of hyenas. I think I've only seen bits and pieces of them. I had one sighting of them on Arathusa. They were eating the remnants of a buffalo which the lions had taken down, the Nkuhumas had actually taken it down. And Roger was asking, what rank is Gwen and why? So I was chatting to Jamie about it, and Jamie says that she's exceptionally low ranking, so she's probably down there in the bottom, sorry, I just heard a random rattling noise, in the bottom of all the low-ranking female hyenas, and it's probably because she's not directly related to Madam, who I believe is the highest-ranking female. So that's normally how it goes. It depends who you're born from, and that will depict your status in a clan of hyenas. So typically all Madam's matriarchs or offspring, they'll all sort of be higher ranking, and then of course if it's her sisters and things like that, they'll be of a similar level, but she seems to take charge. And I don't know if I've seen Madam. Maybe, I mean, I stand under correction, because I'm still learning about these hyenas, of course. Now, another question about the ranks, Brandon, this one's particularly, can a low-ranking female move up? I reckon, and unfortunately, there are not the big clans of hyenas down in the Sabi Sand like there are sort of in the areas of Kenya and Tanzania, and even in Zambia we had big clans of hyenas. And so we don't get an opportunity to watch things like that, but you can imagine what it's like when you have a big family reunion and there's a lot of you, is that there's often drama. Somebody will cause some nonsense and there's a dispute and they might attack each other, and the same thing will happen with hyenas. Everyone will gang up and pick on one. So hyenas can get killed pretty easily. So if a lion takes out a high-ranking female, there is a spot open, probably the next in line might take over that clan, and so forth. So there is an opportunity. However, I don't think it's very common. I think that those girls, I mean, you saw the size of those hyena tracks, and I'm sure you all agree with me, those are big footprints. And I even took a photo the other day. I put a pen next to this, and I'm pretty sure it's the same hyena, because that's unlikely to find so many hyenas with massive tracks like that. So that was really exciting. So now we need to find whose footprints they are. There's some ellie tracks here. It's a bit hard though, but I can just see, and with the roof it's also difficult to show you, but if you look up in front you can see how there's grass now on the road just over there. So you can see they've definitely been feeding here, but I reckon that this was late last night because their tracks had a bit of water over them. Not too much, so maybe we're close. We'll have to find a very clear one though and see if we can see exactly where they're heading to. Right, we're on Gowrie Main, no leopard tracks, so we'll leave that up to Yanni. Let's shoot around. Let's go on to Cheetah Cutline. Let's go check that den. I hope there is a hyena in there. But you'll have to help me, of course, identifying it, as I think hyenas are exceptionally hard to identify. I mean, all the animals are difficult, but the more time you spend with them, the more familiar you become with their markings and things like that. It becomes a bit easier. But hyenas, my goodness, they never want to stay around for long enough. And I had an amazing experience when I was guiding down at Sabi Sabi. There was a hippo that had died sadly during that drought. We lost a number of hippo and buffalo. The same thing I know happened up here. But you can imagine when something dies that's the size of a hippo. Oh, it was amazing. So the lions moved in, and I think they had a bit of a dispute because one night we heard a lot of roaring, and they ate quite a bit of the buffalo. And I think it's something that happens here, how you see the Birminghams often coming in and the Gahumas running away, or trying to get away from the boys. That happens a lot between the Charleston males and the Southern Pride when they were starting to do that. Excuse me. And we came across the next morning, we'd heard all this ruckus, and we could see that the lions definitely fed there. And when we got there, all of a sudden we heard the whoop, whoop, and we sat. And I kid you not, about 50 hyenas came charging in. I don't think they were from the same clan, and they started feasting upon this hippo carcass, and it was unbelievable. The little ones were chasing each other around. It was so exciting to see the different interactions. And then one clan would go in and the others would get too close, and then they would race in and chase each other off. So for me, that was probably one of the best hyena sightings I've ever had, just because of how vocal they were, which is really amazing. You don't always get to hear that laughing noise, that sort of cackling that our hyena does. We hear the whooping a lot, and just the chit chatter amongst them all was pretty spectacular. Okay, we're not far now from this turn off. Okay, off we go onto Cheetah Cut Line. Well, I'm sure you've all seen the various documentaries that display the relationship between a hyena and a lion, and unfortunately it's not that of a good one. And Adam was asking that, he was wondering if sort of how does that all go about? What is their relationship like? So another interesting story. An elephant died, also at Sabi Sabi, and obviously you can imagine now that carcass was there for about 2 weeks. We had lions pulling in from far north that we've never even seen before. It was really amazing. That was quite cool. But not only do we have that, we had hundreds of hyenas coming through, and vultures, lappet-faced vultures, white-backed vultures, white-headed. It was incredible, the diversity of predators that came around. And one night we decided, the sighting was very busy during game drive hours, so I said to my guests, let's have dinner. And I was guiding at one of the lodges that this carcass was close by to, and I said, let's have dinner very quickly and then let's jump in the vehicle and go out. And so we did. We got ready, we dined and dashed, and then off we went to this carcass. It took us about 10 minutes to get there. So as we got there was hyenas running everywhere. It was serious commotion, and there were male lions there, and this is the first time I've ever seen hyenas chase away male lions. So there were more hyenas than there were male lions. I think there were 3 males, and I don't know who they were. It was dark. They weren't there during the day. They'd pulled through in the evening. They'd chased the female lions off, but then the hyenas came in full force, and these boys went running in the complete opposite direction. So that was amazing. But typically, hyenas and lions they don't really have an agreement, I suppose, but when there's a male lion around, you'll see the hyenas lurking towards the back, keeping away, because those boys, they'll run in and they will take hyenas down, no problem. They tend to get a bit cheeky and want to harass the females just because they're not quite as big as a male lion, of course, so they feel like they can take a chance. But the girls will fight back. They don't tolerate the hyenas' nonsense. But again, if there's a whole lot of them, those lions, the lionesses will actually take their cubs, if they do have youngsters, and move off completely, and rather surrender their carcass rather than risking an unnecessary injury. And that's what most of the animals will do, is that they'll try and back out of a fight if they need to. But here we're coming to this den, and I know sometimes if there is something in here, you don't want to spook it, so we try and go in as quietly as we can. Can't see anything yet. Here. It's a warthog. Okay, hang on. There's a warthog in here. Have you got it there, Brian? Oh, nice work. Well done. It seems as though even Gwen has been evicted from her home. Poor Gwen, the low-ranking hyena. She doesn't even stand a chance against this big warthog. And I presume that it's probably a big boar from the size of his tusks, otherwise it's a really big female. But look at that. Seeking a bit of shelter from the rain. Not quite ready to come out just yet. Having a good rest. And I don't blame this warthog. But remember, we are a live safari, and if you have any questions for us, just as Adam, Michelle, and the rest have all asked, remember #SafariLive, or send us an email, questions@wildearth.tv. But this is really cool. Isn't this special? Look at that. Lots of flies hanging around the entrance of the hole. Normally, that's also an indication. If you do see a lot of sort of fly activity around the entrance of a warthog burrow or an aardvark burrow, typically that means that it's relatively active. There's a crested barbet saying good morning. Now you can see him twitching his ears. This boar is listening to a vehicle that's driving on one of the main road, the dirt main roads. And I'm glad he didn't come charging out, because it means that he's relaxed with us. Are you very tired? And that must be very toasty in there too. I can imagine that this warthog is probably a lot warmer than what we are with our big bulky jackets. I'm just trying to remember. Tristan said that this warthog hasn't been in here for a couple of days, maybe even a bit more than that. And they'll circulate. They won't just use the same burrow all the time, because eventually Tingana, or a big male leopard, is going to figure out that this warthog is living in here. Because we've seen Tingana right here before. We've actually seen him a couple of times. And also with the build-up of parasites. So not just the annoyance of flies, but also the mites. And I'm sure there must be fleas and lots of ticks and things that are living in this burrow, especially if a warthog is coming in here on a regular basis. You can imagine if a hyena uses it too, they're not the cleanest animals. That would be a very, very dirty burrow. But that's a lovely little spot there. It's a pity that there wasn't a hyena in there, but this is still pretty cool. Hello. It's lovely, beautiful contrast with the green. It's actually a very big termite mound. So, if we have a closer look at those massive warts that you can see protruding off of its face, and you can see that's another way that it's a male, is that it's got two. So you can see between the tusk and its eyes, it's actually got two big warts there. And consulting detective was asking if those warts are made out of cartilage or bone. Now, I'm trying to remember. I have found a couple of dead warthogs, and I was very curious, and I have felt them. I reckon that it's probably cartilage. It's definitely not bone, but it's an interesting feeling. I don't even know how to describe it to you, but I would only imagine that it would be the same material that their ears are made out of. So of course cartilage. But he's covered in mud. He's obviously having a mud wallow. Maybe not yesterday, maybe the day before, in this night heat. And I believe, Shelley, you said that he's been in this den for a while and you're wondering if he could be ill. I don't think so. I think he's fine. I think he's an old boy. He's probably experienced life quite a bit. You can see he's got a chip out of his tusk on the left. So that's an indication that very worn tusks. So and you can almost age them by that. So I reckon he's probably heading towards the end of his lifespan. But I don't necessarily think that he's sick. I think that he's just using this burrow. And that's where he's sleeping at night. He'll probably come out to eat. Around here there's lots of lovely green grass, so he doesn't have to go particularly far. But watch, you'll see one day we'll come and he just won't be here anymore. Whether he's been eaten, or like I said, with the build-up of parasites and them regularly changing their burrows, and that could be one of the cases too. But it's often to see warthogs on a day like today not coming out of their burrows. There's no need to. It's miserable. And maybe he knows that this is the weather that the predators like so much. I think he's probably done that. I reckon that he knows now. He's an old boy. He's experienced. He's made it this far in his life. And I think he's quite content to stay tucked away in this lovely burrow. But what a wonderful sighting. And we might try and keep searching for hyenas. I don't know how lucky we're going to be, as it's getting quite late in the morning now. But we'll keep checking a couple of spots. Otherwise, we might shoot across to Cheetah Plains. But I think it's time to go back to, well, Jamie, who's tucked away in her tent. And I'm not sure what she's got to show you, but I hope it's something very exciting.
I am tucked away most comfortably in the tent, much like that warthog. I cannot believe that he is still lying in the entrance to that burrow, because we saw him yesterday, and initially when one of the guides called him in, he said, I've been to visit the hyena den, and there's a warthog lying in it, and I think it's dead. So we went across to just go and see, because of course naturally it becomes even more interesting because of the fact that up until so recently that particular hole was inhabited by Gwen and her cubs. We went through to have a look and he was dead still, completely dead still, eyes closed, not a movement. I thought, okay, I'm not going to go and poke him on the nose to see if he's dead or alive. And then he shot up and sort of looked at us and went, oh, okay, hi. What's unusual about it is the fact that he's just casually sleeping in there, and that he doesn't, when the vehicles come through, he doesn't get up and run away, which is the general standard response of our various warthogs to our presence. So it's fascinating. I don't quite know what's going on there. It's a bit confusing. And Al, yes, warthogs have omnivorous tendencies. They're herbivorous. They are herbivores. Sorry, something making me very itchy. They are herbivores. They feed off grass, roots, shoots, tubers. They often dig up tubers, hence the slightly blunted tusks of that particular male warthog. So they do a lot of digging. Contrary to what the Lion King has led most people to believe, very little of their diet consists of eating insects. However, I've seen it before. It's been seen very regularly, the fact that they will go and feed off carcasses. They'll go and nibble off carcasses. And you can imagine, I know that Taylor was talking a little bit about the fact, one of you asked about the bone of those warts on their face. Well, they're definitely cartilage, because otherwise you would actually see on the skull where the bones had sort of, they'd be here. They'd sit here prominently. So it's not like a giraffe's ossicones that are visible on the top of its head even after it's died, because they're solid bone. Those cartilage warts will drop off and they'll be chewed by things like hyenas. These are not warts. This is the insertion point of those tusks. So you can see where I was going with this in terms of their diet. You can see that their teeth, it's a herbivore. It's built for chewing and grinding down plant material. So it is mainly herbivorous. There is one exceptionally weird case, and we'll never know the exact reason behind it. There's one exceptionally weird case of an adult male warthog killing a baby impala, chasing down and killing and goring a baby impala and then eating a little bit of it. No explanation. Animals don't read the rule books. He might have just been in a very bad mood. He might have been injured. We just don't know exactly why it is. But a lot of the animals out here that are strictly herbivores will practice scavenging or chewing on carcasses. And that's just because it helps to supplement their diet. Obviously, the most common form of that is osteophagia, which is chewing on bones. Now, these, of course, we're talking about herbivores, but we do have a vast variety of predators on this reserve. Let's go and have a look at an interaction between two of them. So there we go, Hosanna and Corky, with Tristan, I believe it was, not far away from Treehouse Dam, and where we think, oh, run little Hosanna, you're getting so cocky, mister. You can see now the cubs are at the stage where they're not too bothered by the presence of leopards. In fact, slightly curious. He gave a little bit of a hiss there. And Corky doing what hyenas do best, which is going to enjoy a bit of time mud wallowing. So the return of Corky, who's relatively high ranking, interesting. Yes, Hosanna, make sure that she's gone. She's still much bigger than you, even if you are faster. And then reunited once again. Look how cute they were. That was one of my favorite sightings that I've had of them in a long time. And what this clip didn't show you, because it was sort of behind a bush, and Eggsy couldn't get the camera on it. But at one point, Shungile climbed onto, now it's usually Hosanna that does this, but Shungile climbed onto a very, very thin bush willow branch, fell off and was dangling by her front paws. And Hosanna stole that chance, took that opportunity, went racing towards his sister and jumped up and knocked her out of the tree. He looked so smug afterwards. Anyway, you don't just have to hear about the cubs because Yanni has got a nice surprise for you.
All right, everyone. While Tyler was looking at some hyena tracks this morning, I believe, and Jamie gave you excuse me, everyone, and Jamie gave you some updates about the week on the leopards. We were tracking some leopards and we were very fortunate to find Husana and Zongile, Karula's 2 cubs. This is an absolute privilege to see them because last time I was here, I believe it was around June 2016. I was privileged enough just to have a glimpse of these 2 cubs, and that was when they were still tiny. We've been watching them this morning, and Husana has been trying to catch some comb ducks in the river, or well, in the little pan which they are at, and I don't think it's been going very successful for him. So you can see the trying to find the comb duck in the area there. You can see VM's trying to filming. There we go. So you can see that's the little pan which Husana has been paying close attention to. Right. Now these cubs are also a fairly good age. This is when the mother will sometimes leave them by themselves. They are fairly much capable of looking after themselves. But regarding to hunting, they still need to rely on the mother from time to time. So they need to rely on their mother from time to time as they still need to develop some specific hunting skills. It's mainly, you'll find it with the males, they might be a bit impatient sometimes, and that's where they will give themselves away from the animal which they might be stalking. It might be something smaller, something such as a warthog, which I believe Tyler have been talking about this morning, or something like a smaller impala or even a steenbok or so. It's throughout the years as a leopard grow and learn how to hunt, they also learn those patient skills. It is something that usually develops. Again, see Husana's grooming himself a little bit there. And believe it or not, leopards have got a really rough tongue. And this basically not only helps to groom themselves and get rid of all of the ectoparasites or from the loose fur, but it also, when they are feeding, it also helps to loosen the skin from bones. So that rough skin is actually on the tongue is actually enough to lick the flesh or the skin off a human's finger. Can you believe it? Oh wow. So look at the 2 over there.
Yeah, I see that in the south park right there.
This is an absolute privilege to see them. I'd like to try and hear from you viewers. I know a lot of you have been watching Wild Earth for quite a long time, or Safari Live. Can you tell me how old Husana and Zongile is at the moment? I can't quite remember. Right. So, Husana and Zongile, I think, are a bit more interested in the comb ducks. They would definitely try the opportunity as they are still young cubs and they still learning in what is the appropriate food for them to hunt. But they will probably, once they get an opportunity to hunt these comb ducks, they will. But also, these comb ducks are clever enough to stay in the water. You know, leopards aren't very keen on water. However, I have seen them hunting in water and in rivers before. But that is usually a very, very rare sighting, which one will find. Also, with a comb duck, there's quite a lot of feathers, which these cubs will be capable of pulling out. But then it's also a difficulty that if they do swallow some of those feathers, that they might suffocate. It might be a little bit tricky to swallow. You can see it seems like they've lost interest in the comb ducks. Miss Sky, thank you very much for letting me know about the ages of Husana and Zongile. Apparently they are 17 months old. Now that is usually... Sorry guys, my apologies. 13 months, which is 1 year and 1 month old. Now, it's usually in general that the mother will leave her cubs by the age of 18 months and they will be completely by themselves. But it also depends from one situation to the other. Sometimes females might leave a little bit earlier than usual, and the male will usually tend to stick around a little bit longer with the mom, so it's like mommy's little boy. But in this case also, as soon as the time comes when the cubs need to leave the mother, it is also time for the young male. So Husana might have a little bit of difficulty, as I know the density of leopards in this area is fairly high. So it might be a bit tough for him to first off find a territory which he can defend, and it would usually not be close to the area from where he was born or raised. As for Zongile, Karula might even give up her specific territory for her. It is a usual behavior amongst leopards for the mother of a female cub to either share her territory or give that territory over to her. Karula will then probably move off towards another area, or for time and being, Karula will then also just for the first time and while share the territory with her younger daughter. Of course, the area here, the leopard's territorial area, can vary anything from 200 square kilometers to 4,000 square kilometers. But it all depends on the habitat in the area which they are living in. In desert areas where food and water supplies are very scarce, territorial areas will be a lot bigger. But in areas where there is plentiful of water as well as plentiful food, as well as good area for them to hide in, their territories would be smaller, as everything is in abundance, water and food. This is just an absolutely beautiful morning. I did not expect this. Tracking was also quite fun this morning in the rain. Made it a little bit more interesting. But this is just absolutely lovely. Yeah, I know. Alright everyone, I think what we will do is we'll link to Jamie just to help us a little bit more with the family trees this morning. That would be quite interesting to see from her side, as she's been here for quite a long time. She knows these leopards a lot better than what I do. So over to Jamie, and we'll see if we can find something else very interesting for you this morning. We'll continue our tracking.
Oh, it's absolutely lovely that Yanni got to see our two beloved leopard cubs, Hosanna and Shungile. I'm thrilled to see that they decided to come out and keep her entertained, and I can't wait for her to get back and to tell me what her impressions are of those two little leopards. Before we get on to the family tree that I've drawn up, and it's a shortened. What do you call a book that's shortened? Oh, for goodness sake. Okay, no, never mind. I'll get back to that. Abridged. It's an abridged version of the family tree. That was the word I was looking for. First piece of trivia for the day. I'm going to offer it up to Yanni and to Taylor as well. How fast does a leopard's heart beat per minute? And let's throw in lions as well, because there's an interesting comparison between the two. So how fast does a leopard's heartbeat per minute, and how fast does a lion's heartbeat per minute? And if you know how fast a hyena's heart beats per minute, please let me know, because I've got absolutely no idea, and I can't seem to find out. Send those through on hashtag Safari Live on Twitter, or email through to questions@wildearth.tv. And let's do a little bit of comparison. We've done bite force, kind of. We've touched on bite force. Now let's have a look at heartbeats. And Viam might know the answer to this, because Viam and I had a conversation about this, and he started comparing leopards to fast cars, fast sports cars. They're sleek, built for performance, rather than something long-lived and lumbering, like, for example, my RAV4 that's lumbered through about 300,000 kilometers so far in its lifespan, lifespan is about as long as my brother's, 19 years. Right, onto the family tree that I promised you I would draw you. This is, for those of you that are very keen on hyenas, you know all of this. I've abridged it. I've left out some of the hyena that we don't actually really see all that often anymore. And it's just a crash course for our new viewers for when we find the hyena den. You see that optimism there? You see that, Craig? When we find the hyena den. We've got some key players, females and their offspring on the left and the males on the right. So we start off. And I know I've left off some of their offspring. So before anybody shouts at me, I'm aware of that. I'm going with the ones actually in my time here at Wild Earth that I've come to know, and the ones that we're still likely to see given their age. So we've got Madam, who is the matriarch. Madam is... she's bulky. She's a big, bulky hyena. She's not all that tall, but she is very, very muscly. She's got quite a high concentration of spots and quite tatty ears. She's got notches on her ears that make it very clear. And now, from what I've seen of the clip of her with Tristan, she's got quite a droopy lip now. She's obviously had it stretched or scarred. Every single female that I'm going to cover now has, during the course of their lives and the number of cubs that they have had, have basically herniated their bellies and through gorging themselves. So the muscle wall has split open, which is why they always look saggy and pregnant, even if they aren't. So any female that you see out here, they're all relatively old. Not old, but they're all sort of over 5 years old, and they've had several litters of cubs, and that tends to happen, especially with the reproductive difficulties that spotted hyena have due to their anatomy, which we'll go into in a little bit. Right, so when I first started working here, Bella was still a cub and was hanging out at the Philemon's Cutline Den. Bella is a male. And then we had the birth of Jan and Reri. Jan 1 and Jan 2 is what I've gone with. One female and one male. That is early 2016, just to give you an idea of the ages. From what we understand of the lines, so remember how hyena clans aren't necessarily all related to each other. Not all of the females are related. It's not like a lion pride. We know that Pretty is Madam's daughter, making her probably the second in command in this hyena clan. Essentially, she's very high up on the hierarchy. And Pretty gave birth to November, whose date I forgot to put in, November of 2015. Sorry, that's not very clear. So November 2015, November is a boy. Haven't seen him in a long time. November was one of my favorites because the one time they all started contact calling around the den site, and little November started going, ooh, ooh, ooh. It was like this big. It was so cute. Okay, next in line is Corky. Now, Corky, I always thought was another one of Madam's daughters, because the way that she interacted, she seemed to be quite high-ranking as well, and she was there at the attack on... Was she there, actually, at the attack on Gwen? We've definitely seen her enforcing clan hierarchy before. I know Pretty was there. I can't remember if Corky was there. It was a bit of a chaotic sighting, but I had a sighting where Gwen was attacked by the higher ranking members. Corky's not related to Madam or Pretty, at least not directly. She's not a daughter of Madam. So I've put her in a different color just to try and avoid confusion. Then I had a momentary brain freeze and wrote the wrong cub. D1 and D2, twins, born in the sort of late 2015, hence the name December 1, December 2, female and male. Scarback and Gwen, I've put them both in green just because they are slightly lower down in the food chain, from what I can tell. I don't know if they're related to each other or not. I'm not sure. If you do know, correct me. Those of you who've sort of specialized in our various hyenas, let me know if you think they are related. You've been watching for longer. You've got access to some of the pictures from further back. But I'm not sure. And then she had, when I first started working here in mid-2015, June was just a few weeks old, and June's a little female. Haven't seen June in a long time either. I don't know where June is. Gwen, the bottom. Right at the bottom of the food chain. Poor Gwen. I know Gwen's had other offspring. I'm sure Madam has as well. I'm sure Pretty has. But Gwen had cubs when I first started working here, Heart and Soul. They have been seen. Heart's been seen recently, and I'm pretty sure Soul has as well. And then question mark and question mark. The two skittish little cubs, who I don't think we can call them question marks, but they were born in mid-2016. So there you go. Now, what you'll notice is that we've got a lot of either solitary female cubs or groups of two that are a male and a female. And that comes again into what we were speaking about the hierarchy and the possibility of siblicide. We won't ever know because we don't look into the dens itself. I got a question from, and I'm sorry, Rebecca, I've forgotten who it's from, about whether or not Marianne. Marianne wants to know whether or not the females will treat male and female cubs separately or differently. No, not really, but they don't interfere in the scuffles between them. They just let it play out. So what that means is that when the females come in to suckle, they'll often push their male sibling away. They'll bite them, they'll bully them, they'll scar them. So that often happens, and the mother does not interfere in any way. However, whether it's a female cub or a male cub, if it starts emitting distress calls because it's being nibbled or bitten too hard, mom will immediately step up and go in to protect it. So it doesn't matter then if it's a male or a female. Same again, she will drag bits of carcass back to the den. Only hyena that are higher ranking tend to do that, although I'm sure there are exceptions to the rule. But generally, low-ranking females take their cubs to kills. High-ranking females bring bits of kill back towards the den site, despite what the textbooks say. And then, again, she will let both of them feed on it, but generally the female will be the first to approach, slightly bolder in nature. What was I going to say? Oh, yes, the males. I've only put the 4 males that I think we see regularly. Correct me if I'm wrong. Comet, Ribbon, Nkombo, and Saka are the ones that I think we regularly see. So I've left off Teddy, I've left off Napandula because, again, I'm not sure that we know they're alive. Tripod, not sure that we know that they're alive or that they haven't dispersed off into other areas. So there you go. That is a crash course for those of you that are curious about hyenas, because I know how confusing it will get. It will make a lot more sense when we actually see them around the den site. When we see them around a den site. And you'll be able to see the interactions. The reason we gave them names is because it started to get very confusing. It is still a bit confusing, admittedly. We've got June, we've got December 1 and 2, we've got November. We're going to have to start getting slightly more imaginative in terms of naming the various ones, because now Gwen's 2 question marks that are 2 very skittish cubs. They're both born in June, but 2016, not 2015. Phew. Now, that is the abridged version of our hyena clan, something that our 2 little leopard cubs have had to learn to deal with during their short life. Let's go and see what else they're learning today.
Alright, so Jamie have been talking about some hyenas, and she's been talking about some family trees of the hyenas as well. well, here we're looking at something different, but let's see the relationship between hyena and leopard. Out here in nature, all predators are enemies of each other. The reason for that is because they're always competing for the same food sources, all these predators. However, hyenas are scavengers, and leopard rely a lot more on hunting. When these adult predators come across a different species cubs, a predator species, you will find it that, unfortunately and sadly, that adult predator, let's say, for instance, adult hyena, will kill leopard cubs. And it is just as I explained, it is mainly more for food sources. That adult hyena knows that when these leopard cubs grow up, they might be stealing his food from him or her. Oh, this is just absolutely adorable. This is such a pleasant morning, everybody. Just look at Zongile there, sharpening her nails a little bit, playing. I think the flies are agitating her a little bit there. It's just too sweet. Another thing with leopards is they also have really, really sharp claws, but it is retractable. So generally, in their tracks, you won't be able to see the claws which are present. But in very thick soils or even in mud, there might be a slight marking of the nails which indent it. But you can see what Zongile is doing here also, is cats need to keep their nails clean and healthy. So by scratching on the tree, that usually helps to get rid of the debris from under the nails. And also there are specific glands between these toes which they can also usually use to mark the territory with. However, these cubs are not territorial yet, so that's not the specific person, the reason what Zongile is doing there at the moment. Meg, do I have a favorite leopard sighting from my past? Yes, I do. Sorry, I haven't even introduced myself properly earlier, but I've also spent quite a fair amount in the bush. I've been a safari guide for about 8 years. And I think one of my most memorial 2 sightings of leopards was one day, also it was a female leopard on a concession where I work, and she's my absolute favorite on that specific property. And we came across her where she hunted a warthog. And while we approached the sighting, this female was busy feeding on the warthog. And it also started getting a little bit darker. So obviously one privilege which leopards have got is they can usually hoist their kills up in trees, and that is the reason to get it away from other predators. So this specific female leopard started realizing that it was getting darker, and she dragged the warthog up a tree right in front of our vehicle, and it was just an absolutely phenomenal sight to see how strong these cats really are. It's just the massive power that they use to hoist these animals up just with their mouths and their body strength alone. And then also another leopard sighting, which I think at the time I didn't enjoy that much, but we were tracking the same female leopard that I was just talking about, who was hoisting the warthog up a tree. And I was busy tracking her, and these tracks went down into a dry drainage line, and I was struggling to see the tracks a little bit. As the terrain changed, and there was quite a lot of pebbles, so there weren't any sand left to indicate where the tracks were going. And as I was focused and looked at these tracks, the next moment I heard a growl, and this specific female leopard was sleeping under a bush not too far away from me, and I'm not too sure who gave who the biggest fright, but she realized that I was a bit too close for comfort, and I realized I was a bit too close for comfort. But luckily in that situation, we both decided to part our separate ways swiftly. Yeah, that was quite a close-up experience which I've had, which I will also never forget, and it's also learned me a dear lesson of always, but always, being aware of your surroundings when out here in the African bush. Albert, how often do leopards drag their kills up a tree? It would usually depend on the density of other predatorial species also in the area. Sometimes you'll find it that leopards are also very lazy and they just can't be bothered to pull it up. But in these instances or cases, you'll usually find it that it was a small female leopard that might have killed the impala ram, and the body of this animal, the weight of the carcass, might just be a bit too heavy for that specific leopard to hoist it up a tree. But generally, I'd probably say that it is a 60 to 70% here in the Sabi Sand area, where the leopards will hoist the kills up a tree. It might be even a little bit more. I don't know of this specific area, but from the area which I guide in and which I know, it's usually a 60 to a 40%. Also, the density of other predators and scavengers are not as high as in this area. And also even in this region, here with Wild Earth, oh, she's climbing there. Let's see. She's working on her climbing skills for one day when she needs those skills to hoist a kill up a tree. Oh, this is just absolutely wonderful, everybody. But sorry, let me get back to how often these leopards will then hoist up their kills. But I've pretty much explained most of what I wanted. And you'll also sometimes even find it that a leopard would just drag its kill under a very, very dense bush. And the reason for that is also usually when vultures start flying around on a clear open sky, sunny day, you'll find it that these vultures flying in the air might be a giveaway to other predators or scavengers of where there might be a potential kill. And this might sometimes, with these vultures that have located the carcass sighting with this leopard, that might then lead to other predators or scavengers arriving at the scene. And usually in some of those situations, you'll find that it might be an unexpected approach, where the leopards don't always have the time then to hoist their kill up a tree to safety or get it away from this other scavenger, as leopards are a lot smaller. All right. Well, everybody, it's been an absolutely wonderful morning so far. I think we're going to venture through to Taylor. She ventured onto the plains, and let's see what she has got for you guys to see this morning.
So we're on the boundary between Mala Mala and Cheetah Plains now, which is very exciting. I haven't been down here in ages. And we've just picked up on some lioness tracks. How exciting. I wonder who it is. They actually don't seem too old. There doesn't seem to be too much water on top of them. I can't see them anymore, but the ground has also become quite hard and compact over here. So we'll just keep moving and trying to scan through this long grass, though I can't imagine a lion wanting to sit in this wet grass. I don't think it would be very nice. So what I'm hoping is that by the time we get to the plains, this lion is going to be out there. And perhaps the cheetah brothers will be around too, you never know. But we'll see exactly what's going on when we get up ahead. The road gets a little bit better, and then hopefully we'll be able to have a look at these tracks. Let me just see. I'm just going to concentrate for just a moment, just see if I can pick them up here. It actually looks like someone has already driven here. There's lots of fresh tire tracks, which could be a problem for us because now we don't know where these footprints of this lion has disappeared to. Right, no hyenas yet, which is a bit disappointing. I wish we could have at least even just seen the rear of one disappearing into the distance. And the Pat, my goodness, you might stump me. You're wondering what the smallest cat is in South Africa. I think it's a black-footed cat, if I'm not mistaken. But maybe Jamie can just double check for us. Oh, cat. I think so. What is the smallest cat? I don't know. I mean, Rebecca, I'm confused now. Did you say what is the smallest cat in Southern Africa? I think that's what you said. And I'm pretty certain that it's... Oh, the smallest big cat. That makes a big difference. So yes, the smallest cat I suspect is probably the black-footed cat. Now the smallest big cat would probably have to be a leopard. Considered a big cat, or a cheetah. I suppose you could consider a big cat. It's probably then even smaller than that. Though a cheetah is slightly taller than a leopard, but not quite weight heavy. So I would say, depending how you look at it, you probably have to say cheetah. Because then you go down after that to serval, to caracal, to all those things. But it's weird because I wonder, I think a caracal could be heavier than a serval. We must actually check that. I don't have a mammals book with me today. I took them out. I was worried they were going to get wet. We must have a look at that. But a serval's much taller. But caracals are quite stocky. What bird is that down there? Can you see that bird on the edge of that ridge over there, Brian? It's almost standing out white. It's very far away. It's sort of in line with that tree that's in the middle between. If you go to the left a little bit. Yeah, it's a saddle-billed stork. Now, it's very far away. But how cool is that? All the way on that little ridge over there. A beautiful saddle-billed stork. Now, I can't tell you if it's a male or a female. It's unfortunately a little bit too far away from that. But normally you see the little yellow... I don't know what you would even call them. What is that word that I'm looking for? The things that chickens have underneath their chins. Wattle. Would you say wattle? You could say wattle. Hey, thanks, Brian. They have little yellow ones of those, but that's just unfortunately a little bit too far away. And I wonder where its mate is, because typically these beautiful big birds are monogamous. Perhaps it's searching. Maybe it's a female. But no sight of any lions, no sight of any cheetah just yet. I'm just having a very quick scan around here to have a look. It's very open. There's a couple of impala about. Lots of frogs. Can you hear them? Definitely lots of frogs chatting about. Okay, nothing here. It's except our beautiful impala and the oxpecker. Wagging their tails, of course, keeping the insects away. And there's one just scanning about, making sure that there isn't any predators around. But it's so easy for these cats to lay in this long grass, and these impala wouldn't even know that they were there. And I don't know if any of you have ever had the privilege to watch a lion creep, but they're really, really, really good at it. And when they want to, they'll go completely down on the ground. And it's amazing how they just sort of move their front legs and shuffle their back legs as it underneath their bum, and then off they go. I always am so amazed as to how flat they can make themselves. But nothing just yet. I think what we'll do, there's a really nice sandy patch in the corner of the Kruger boundary. And let's check over there, because it was a lioness track. Now, it could be from one of the sticks. There were no cub tracks that were accompanying those adult lioness tracks. So I'm wondering if it's maybe somebody that's come in from Kruger for a quick visit and hasn't carried on going that way. Where are all these frogs? They all must be sitting in the grass, tucked away, which makes it obviously very difficult for us to find them. Oh, Rebecca, I'm just letting you know I don't really have comms with you at the moment. I can just hear your questions and things coming through every now and then. Can you see that swarm of tadpoles? We'll have a quick look at these guys. You can see the black things. They look like they're tadpoles. Oh yes, there they are, all swarming together. And I'm sure that they're happy because also this little area over here was very much drying out. So I'm sure they've got a bit of a refill, in their pan. But there they are. Look like they're munching on the algae on that piece of grass, or is it a leaf? But whatever they are feasting upon that. Hungry, feeding frenzy. Luckily it's not a shark feeding frenzy. Nothing. I'm so surprised. I really thought we were going to get here and we were going to be welcomed by all sorts of big animals. Nope. Let's try again. There we go. Right. Okay, let's go check this corner. So Jamie was asking, and I don't know the answer to this. She had the question about the heart rates of lions, leopards, and hyenas, and you've stumped me on this one, Jamie. But I have a book in my room that has a timetable, basically, or a table that's tabulated all the different heart rates of the various animals. So I can tell you after drive when I go back to it and have a look. But right now, and that's actually a book that I normally carry in my box with me, so I would have been able to have got the answers. But no, unfortunately, I don't know. Maybe Yanni might know. Yanni, I reckon, will probably have the answers. And then, of course, well, we know Jamie knows the answers, and I'm stumped. Darn, Jamie, you got me. But we'll have to have a look when I get home, or we'll just wait for Jamie to tell us the answers. And then I don't even have my notebook with me. I took everything out because I was so worried that everything was going to get wet. That's a problem when you have a bit of rain, is that you only need a couple of drops on a fresh track to completely disguise it, and it almost becomes impossible to try and identify it. But let's see. Okay, here's another good section. Let's pull off slightly. You have a look over my shoulder. Some elephant tracks from a couple of days ago, also very worn. Makes it very difficult to actually pick them out. Okay, here's the corner. So if this lion didn't come this way, it's possible that it's either gone south into Mala Mala, or perhaps even, well, crossed east into Cheetah Plains again. No, nothing. Okay, we'll check this boundary. There's sadly no tracks just yet, but we're going to go around. We'll do the quick boundary, we'll check at Buffalo Pan, and then we'll start zigzagging in between these roads, and maybe we even stumble across Kuchava, which is the female leopard that you had last night, and my favorite leopard. But I think it's about time now that Jamie, well, lets us know what those answers are to that very tricky question, and I hope lots of you got it right. But let's go across to Jamie now so she can reveal the answers.
Well, the only reason I know the answer to the tricky question is because VM raised it during our rehearsal drive on Sunday afternoon. And he basically, the reason that this whole thing came up was he was zoomed in on Karula's neck, and we were watching her pulse beat up just under her jaw. And we were watching it and going, wow, that's actually quite fast, much faster than we expected. And VM goes, what would that be, about 120 beats per minute? He was spot on. So that is basically, essentially, how fast a leopard's heart beats. And then, of course, that got me thinking about the comparison with the other big cats. So thank you so much to James and to Liz sending through your answers as well as to how fast the animal's hearts beat. You're looking with the leopard probably around 120, but between about 90 and 140. And I was reading somewhere, I don't remember where I was reading about it, but I was reading somewhere that it actually goes well up over 200 when they actually do something, when they launch themselves forward to try and catch an animal. A lion's is so much slower, essentially the same average beat as your average human, your average relatively healthy, relatively fit human being, which is around about 70 beats per minute. So a lion sits around there, and then of course a cheetah also has quite a rapid heartbeat, slightly faster than that of a leopard. So the average is probably slightly faster. I think it's 120 to 170 odd beats per minute. Imagine how fast that cheetah's heart rate gets up to when they run, though. when they do that full-on 120 kilometer per hour sprint. That heart rate, their heart's obviously built to be able to be capable of providing their bodies with whatever they need, as oxygen and the transport of carbon dioxide and oxygen, and the movement of lactic acid as well, or preventing the buildup of lactic acid. It's a funny thing about these animals. You would think that because as a human being, if we slept for 20 hours a day, we would be, to put it lightly, we'd be quite unfit. You just wouldn't be able to, your muscles wouldn't have the same strength that they would if, for example, we didn't do exercise whenever we can. It doesn't work the same way with the animals at all. They don't become unfit. Look, lions are not built to be long-distance runners, neither are leopards, neither are cheetahs. But I wondered about that because I used to work long ago, before I even moved to the UK to go to university. I worked on a reserve in the Green Kalahari, which is the southern part of the Kalahari. And what they used to do there is they used to capture cheetah and take them off farms, because it was that or they were going to be shot by the farmers. So the farmers would call them in and they would remove the cheetah, and then they do what's known as a soft release. So they put them inside a fenced-off area in order to get them used to the idea of being there, because otherwise what tends to happen is they go straight back to where they came from. They've got a fantastic sense of direction and homing instinct, and they just would have gone straight back to where they'd been taken from, which obviously they wanted to prevent. And I remember sitting with the vet and saying, don't they get particularly unfit while they're stuck not doing anything, not walking, not moving? And he said, not at all. Their muscles are built to rest most of the time. There seems to be no correlation. They don't lose their skills. And when I actually felt the cheetah that they darted, their muscles, I expected them to be like the muscles of marathon runners or sprinters or something, taut and hard. They're squishy. They're soft and very, very squishy, so obviously a complete different composition. Right, well, let's have a look at a clip that will show you a little bit more about the hunting techniques of our big cats.
Lions are the apex predator of the African wilderness. Only a pride of lions working as a unit can take on a 2,000-pound buffalo bull. When the old bull turns, the chase is on. Now the team must split their skill. A lioness leaps onto the back, driving her 3-inch canines into the spine. Others tear at the flailing hooves with razor claws. The throat must be crushed to stop the terrified bellowing. The bull's life is suffocated as vicious jaws clamp over the muzzle. But teamwork on the hunt doesn't mean an equal share at the table. In a startling turnaround from a well-coordinated buffalo kill, the members of the pride growl, slash and bite at each other, regardless of the vast amount of meat for dinner. But lions don't have to work in teams. When we visited the Mara Triangle, we saw how it sometimes pays to be an opportunistic singleton.
Here's a lion! There's a lion right next to us! I don't even know what to say, everyone. Look, look, look! Look at this!
So there you go, a slightly macabre start to your morning sunrise safari, or not quite start, slightly macabre passage that our conversation has turned along. But there you go, that is how the lions hunt in this particular, or throughout Africa. And of course, one of the amazing things is that they are the only social big cat. I say that. I had a very interesting conversation with Boone when I was in the States, Boone Smith, and we were chatting a little bit about the work that he does in terms of big cat capture and monitoring and so on. And he was talking about the camera traps that he was utilizing and the fact that it seems he found out look, I think it still remains to be discussed and remains to be researched, but he was watching two female mountain lions raise their cubs together. They would come together, spend time together, to the point that when they were watching them, they couldn't tell whose cubs were whose, because they'd come and play together in much the same way our African lions do. So that was a really fascinating conversation that I had with him. I learned something completely new, which is the same idea behind this whole trivia game in the tent that we're playing, is the idea that I'm going to learn along with all of you as well. But it does give you a really very useful indication as to how the big cats interact. I would love to know, because I've watched loads of lion hunts. I would love to be in a lion's head during that whole process, to understand the thought process and to understand exactly how they communicate with each other, because they are communicating. It's such a slick, well-oiled performance that they put on. And the number of hunts that we've witnessed, whether it was the wildebeest on quarantine or the buffalo, the hunt that we experienced on Hyena Road, you watch the way that they do it. Sometimes it feels as though you actually want to say to the lionesses that are hanging at the back, what are you doing? Run, go after it. And they always seem to know exactly when they just need to stand still, where they need to be, and how they coordinate that when you've got the chaos and the unpredictability of a frightened animal running away from them. I do not begin to understand. I know there's lots of visual communication happening with their ears. Obviously, they're well practiced, but each one seems to take a different role at a different time. So it's not even like they've got like a sports team where you've got a specific position that you play in. The lionesses have an interchangeable thing where they adapt and change according to the direction that the hunt is going in. A truly unique thing about them. Now, Noah, you want to know if lions will eat bones at a kill. Yes, they do. They do eat bones. They will start to, particularly the softer bones. So unlike hyenas, lions don't really bother with the breaking open of the larger bones to get to the bone marrow. So the long bones, things like femurs and humerus. They don't really bother too much with that, whereas hyenas do actually have the jaw strength and the teeth structure to enable them to do so. Lions will, however, if it's a baby animal, that entire animal is going to be gone, as it would be with leopards. Leopards will also eat bones, so will cheetah. So although hyena have the reputations for being the ones to eat them, it's only because their digestive systems are far more well equipped to cope with it. Their stomach acid is so powerful. Whereas with leopard scat, lion scat, you will find bits or shards of bone in their scat and in their vomit as well. So they do eat bone, particularly the softer edge bits. So that's why you'll often find with the kill, you'll see the ribs have been nibbled at and crunched away, the sort of the end points of the smaller bones. And we also have a question about whether or not lions will ever eat each other. And that was from Richie. Now, Richie, yes, they will. It's unusual. Generally, when predators kill other predators, it's not for food. However, there's sometimes a waste not, want not attitude. I've seen a lion before carrying a lion's head, and I know that there's pictures of sightings like that as well. Sometimes it is a dominance thing. So particularly when a male lion coalition kills members of another coalition or kills another male lion, they will sometimes eat it supposedly as a dominance display. They don't sit and gorge themselves in the way that they might with a buffalo kill or with a zebra kill or anything like that. They just have a sort of a cursory munch and then move on their way. I've heard stories from various guides in this area. I've been working here for decades, of male lions killing, and then it's a very, very odd story. It just goes to show animal instincts are quite peculiar. Male lion killed a female that he was mating with because he got cross with another male lion, and she just happened to be the victim of misplaced aggression. He killed her, then mated with her, and then ate her, or ate a little bit of her. The same goes for when male lions kill cubs. They might have a cursory nibble, but they don't really go about actually physically eating them. So that does happen, but not all that frequently, because generally when a lion kills another lion, or when a lion dies, it's not about food. There was even theories that the Majingilan males went and fed off Hipscar, but that is a completely unqualified. Nobody was there to see it. Hipscar was one of the Majingilan males who very recently passed away. But that was something that was put out there, that the potential that they had actually fed off him. It does happen. It makes sense for them not to waste resources.